So
Welcome back to New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives. It is I, the mayor, Flobo Boyce, in the mayor's office, hanging with those who are doing the dang thing. And you know, from humble beginnings to worldwide presence, I'll always like to talk with people who are finding new ways to break through. And I got to say, my guest, Ugo, finds a way to do that on a daily when it comes down to the realty space and the YouTube channel content creation. Ugo, how's it going this morning?
it's going great. It's afternoon, evening where I am, but things are going well, and it's been a great day so far.
There in jolly old England, yeah.
Yep, we're in London here, so it's sunny skies, so we're happy to see that. So yeah.
I've been to London twice in my life. Once in the summer, and it was dreadfully humid, and once in the winter when it was dreadfully humid. But I would say it is a beautiful city. I love parts of it.
I love London as well. So I'm surprised you found that it's probably the 2 days in a century where it's been humid, but
Right.
well done.
So I always ask my guests this question. If you're at a party and someone's kind of like, hey, what do you do? There's always that pressure to make it a little nice and succinct and compact. But how do you go about describing the many different flavors of your expertise?
Well, I like to say I'm a property agent, and I help clients buy, sell, rent, and manage property here in London. So, real estate is something that most people can understand fairly easily. So yeah, that's the essence of what we do.
That's really cool, succinct. I understand that sometimes a lot of creatives struggle with that, but you're right. Nothing beats telling the truth, right?
Um,
What came first? Was it the realty space, or was it your love of London that got you over there? Because you're from the East Coast, I believe, correct?
I'm born in Nigeria. I grew up in America, in New Jersey, and also lived in Washington, D.C. Before moving over to London about 13 years ago. So I had a few stops along the way.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah, but as far as what brought me over, what came first, I have an MBA in finance. I had my initial career was as a real estate investment banker, but specific to real estate. So I'm structuring real estate transactions for large corporate owners of real estate. So I think that was my first introduction, and obviously, having spent a number of years doing that, really got to understand the ins and outs of real estate as an asset class. So that definitely came first. And then that tipped into buying and selling property personally, and then an opportunity to move over to London.
Yeah. How do you keep abreast with new trends and what the client base is wanting? Like, how do you keep the skills sharp, I guess?
Well, with real estate, it is always changing and evolving. There's always laws and different things. Funny enough, when I was a real estate investment banker, one of the things I actually loved most about real estate was, and I kind of think 2 or 3 years into the career figured it out, or got that sense, was everything that happens in the economy impacts real estate, right? So if jobs are blooming and flourishing, developers are producing more property, and the supply side is booming. But if things are pulling back, and as we've seen, mortgage rates going up across the world, and the cost of it is getting higher, that impacts real estate. If there's political uncertainty, that can impact whether people are more optimistic about moving or seeking to move. So I think it's keeping a pulse on the overall economy and what's happening. We've had, Brexit and COVID and, Ukraine war. All those things impact the real estate market. It's, I think, kind of one of those lagging indicators. So it's just really being a knowledge uh, geek, if you will, staying and keeping a pulse on the overall economy, reading daily. And so you can kind of try to understand what might be impacting when you see people pulling back, or they might not be as bullish as to buy right now. And so we certainly know that's a result of higher interest rates, inflation, more expensive for American clients we deal with. Um, the exchange rate will impact things, dramatically. So we need to understand how that impact, what the changes are in the exchange rates and how that might impact international buyers. And also what's happening in some of those home countries too. So if we're working with a a Chinese client or Hong Kong client, we're seeing a big uptick because of, perhaps some dynamics in their own home country. So I love real estate as we interact with it, because it really is impacted by so much of what's happening globally, for a city like London, but certainly the domestic market as well.
Yeah, I'm a bit of a layperson, so if I come across as being completely obtuse, I apologize. But last time I was in England, it was in January 2023, and it was like a dollar was a pound was worth $1.06, which was pretty much the weakest I've ever seen the pound. And I would say that would make people skittish domestically to invest. But is that kind of like an opportunity for more foreign investment? Is that something you're seeing, or is that just something I'm just like guessing and speculating on?
Americans, that was because when I came, it's the pound to the dollar has been more around that 1.5, 1.6 range. So you can imagine the rate you were seeing was certainly somewhere about a 30 to 40% improvement in purchasing power. So if you did nothing else, where you used to be able to buy a property at 1 million, you can now get, for the same amount of money moving over, something valued at 1.3, 1.4 or more. So yeah, absolutely. And that is also maybe, from my finance background, and that's, I think, what we're able to help people understand is, let's look at the bigger picture, right? So people are, perhaps singly focused on interest rates, but, we help, especially when we talk to Americans, is, relatively speaking, the dollar is still strong to where we've seen it historically, perhaps not where you found it in 2003 or 2023, but certainly, relatively speaking, it's quite solid. And so that is a great opportunity. So yeah, that's part of our, the advice we can bring and help people understand. But you're absolutely right that that will impact one community, perhaps at the expense of another community.
Wow. I mean, that to me is just fascinating stuff, right? Because, like, yeah, it's a single purchase, but it could be a new headquarters. It could be a new division for someone. So it's always cool how, like, one thing could cascade into so many different things. And you get to be in the presence of that and watch that happen in real time. So I guess that leads to my next question is does that get you out of bed being like, let's see what the trends are? Or is it kind of like, hey, I'm just driven by the desire just to work in general? Like, what's the big thing that makes you go, yeah, I love this, love it work?
That's a good question. I think number one, I'm very ambitious, so I feel blessed to do work that I enjoy. So I think that just naturally gets me up every day, and I love my work. I think there's always work to be done, right? So it's whether it's tying up a deal that's in the pipeline, or perhaps even trying to find new business or launch into some new things. So I've recently, launched a new online platform to teach agents. So there's so much about the work I do that excites me and gets me excited every day. Going out today, I was out with a Hong Kong buyer, and we were out in the area called the City of London. And it's always when I'm there and experiencing it, I see something new, or just I find myself very in awe and kind of blessed, like, wow, look at the Shard, at one end, and look at the Leadenhall building at the other end. So London is awe-inspiring as well. So there's a lot that gets me out of bed.
There's a lot that's doing. Let's talk about the content space. You have so much expertise. I've been watching dutifully your content, and there's a wealth of knowledge there. But I always got to ask those who go into content, why did you decide to share? I mean, there's a very nice desire to keep things to yourself and just have that knowledge, and but you decided to go out there and let other people know of inside track to even improve their craft. What was your decision to do that, and how's that working out for you now?
Yeah, I think the decision to share. So we put out, weekly videos on my YouTube channel, and it's something I'm literally the most proud of. Is for 4 years straight. We put it out on Wednesday, and we haven't missed. We take 2 weeks off at Christmas, and for 4 years plus, we've been putting out those videos, as well as other social media platforms. I think it was recognizing, number one, when I moved over here, given my American experience and having bought and sold property in America, it literally blew my mind that nobody was representing the buyer here. So that is not the way our model is set up. We are set up with what we call estate agents. They work for the seller. And then if you're a buyer looking, you then have to go out on your own on these public platforms and search. But it doesn't mean that that agent, and then you have to register with those agents, and then you're interacting with an agent that works for the seller. You're negotiating with an agent that works for the seller. So just kind of get your head around that. And the conflict of interest for me is like, what? That's insane. So number one, I think it was started from recognizing and identifying this gap and an opportunity to be a buyer's agent and to help buyers and to journey with them to find them the right property or not, or just help educate them to see if it makes the right decision. Um, but I think also as you do that, I'm also celebrating London, right? So our tagline is Onyx Property Team, selling London beautifully. So I love London. I love showing it off. So the channel is informative in terms of we talk about property related issues and real estate related issues, but it's also celebrating the best of London. And I felt that number one, it was a great way to put content out so that if people are searching, and YouTube is obviously a major search engine behind Google, that we might be found. But ultimately, it was also a place where, like, in a Facebook group, if somebody's asking for information, you can point them to one of your videos, and that is a digestible content that people, tend to receive better than perhaps, typing it all out and everything. And so, yeah, it was a bit of a combination, but I think creating that database of information for people was
Yeah.
something I thought people could benefit from, and I was very happy to share it.
I learned a long time ago that the content that's helpful is the one that's usually shared. So props to that, because I felt 10 IQ points smarter about a niche I didn't know about just by checking out your YouTube channel. You are a member of Team Onyx from Onyx Brands. What is that like? What's the culture like? What do you guys do to stick out amongst a very competitive competition scene out there in that space?
Yeah, so I created Onyx back in around 2013, and it really grew out of, again, identifying this opportunity, this niche to support and serve buyers, particularly international buyers. And then I partnered with Keller Williams, which is a global estate agency, a couple years later. So, and that gave me this broader global network of resources and support. So, culturally, though, I think for me, working for myself and starting my own business and team meant I could, as I said, bring my entire background, everything I've done from, having taken interior design classes to renovating property to being a buyer to being a seller, and offer that to clients in the way that I wanted to be able to do that. From a cultural perspective, it also meant I like to say I speak Americanese, so I could help people understand how it works in one market versus the other in a very intimate way. But team wise, I think anybody on my team, and we're a small team of all women right now, um, it's really about a heart of service. And what I've learned on this journey, and I listen to a lot of podcasts and self-help and try to pour into my learning, is that your business expands to the extent that you do. And we want to make sure we have a culture where people are here to serve our clients and also bring good energy, right? So I don't want anybody who doesn't like what they do, isn't excited about the work we're doing, and doesn't believe in that. So I do pour into daily calls with my team, or even though we're, some of our admin staff is remote, is global, but making sure they feel like we care about them as individuals and we are journeying together. So when we do, a small two-word check-in, I think I got that from Brene Brown or something like that. And my team loves it. They love that, we can talk about things that go beyond just feeling like a robot. It's what have you delivered today? But no, what are you struggling with, and what's the family issues? And then we know that, maybe we need to give somebody grace for that day because they're having a tough time. Some of my staff is in the Philippines, and they might have power outage issues and other things. We need to recognize that, or supporting other family members, or having to we need to support that and recognize that. And then the great part about it is they really bring the best to you because they know that you respect them for that. And I've had so many of my staff say, they've never worked for someone who cared about them and just wasn't grinding them all the time. I grind,
Sure.
but I like to make sure that people recognize your moms, you're doing things, you're supporting your family, and we want you to be that best version of yourself, including the work you do.
Yeah, absolutely. And how big is your team, if you don't mind me asking?
We've got five now.
Uh,
Five.
okay. I mean, that's pretty cool. That's 5 for now, but always potential to grow. Was there any growing pains and shifting the solo brand into a team, or was that a seamless transition? What was that like, saying, look, here's are my values, do you see my values, please see my values?
No, it was never seamless. But I do think I'm a pretty, can be very intense, but I think I'm, funny and personable and all those other things. But I think it's been through the help of listening to podcasts specific to entrepreneurs, specific to leadership, that has helped me understand some of the dynamics I've talked to you about. Like, again, helping people by supporting them gets the best out of them. But it also started small. So I had my first admin on my team and has journeyed with me, and so her feedback and everything else was super helpful. I also think one of the key things I learned through some coaching was creating the right systems and processes. And one of the things I learned was, anything you have to do more than twice, create a process for it. And then actually that really starts helping your team because they don't have to reinvent the wheel every time. So when we're doing something new, we will record it, using one of these apps where you can screen record. And that's super helpful because again, when we're passing on knowledge, then there's no ambiguity. You can replay that thing 10 times till you get it right. So people feel supported. But it's a journey. So I don't always get things right. Sometimes I don't show up the way I want to, and I have got to put my hand up. When I've made mistakes, I tell my team, I'm sharing my mistake with you because at the top of the chain, you get to be the one that gives feedback or criticize, but they don't always see when you make a mistake, right? And I think it's important to share that because they then know, look, I'm not, I'm not infallible, right? I make mistakes, and it's how we address it, put our hand up, learn from it, and try to move forward. So I think it's also trying to demonstrate the pain, the losses, the deals we don't always get, the deals we journey with somebody and then they disappear, or the deal doesn't go through, or it's part of the journey. But no, there's nothing seamless about it. But I think there's an authenticity in trying to show up as the best version, and people then appreciate that because there's nothing that actually anybody on my team has done that I haven't done also. So demonstrating I'm willing to kind of get in the weeds and show them and learn, and if we don't get it right the first time, then it's a learning opportunity.
That to me is like worth its weight in gold. Like it I think now with a lot more team leaders and CEOs and owners having remote staff, keeping morale high can be almost like an impossible task. But you think about the culture, especially in a corporate America specifically, about saying we're on a team, rah, rah, rah. But no one wants to celebrate wins. No one wants to say how we can get better as a team. It's always achieve or not. It's not like that binary thing could be so stressful. But hey, sharing your mistakes and your room for growth. I mean, that's awesome. That's a really cool thing. Hopefully, people when they hear that, they can apply it to their own line of work in their own teams.
Yeah, and they shouldn't be afraid. Then you also empower them, to step up when there is a mistake and let's figure it out versus trying to hide it and make it worse. And that's where I think you lose trust as well. So I'd rather somebody say, hey, look, this is where I messed up, and I'm coming to you because you've given me the space to do that versus, oh, well, mistakes are not allowed. We strive for excellence, but we don't strive for perfection, but we strive for excellence.
Sure. Can I ask you between you and me a very personal question, just between you and me?
Off camera.
Oh, semi off the record. I mean, you do a lot. Like I'm looking at the list now. You're a go go go, living 10 lives at once. How do you refill the cup at the end of the day? How do you get yourself back and reset to go ahead and do it the next day? I mean, that just seems like a lot of pressure on your shoulders.
Yeah. Um, I think number one, I try to start with a morning routine, and again, that's through my learning is just really trying to control that the day. So if I get up at 6, I've got my do not disturb on till 8 a.m. So those first 2 hours, I'm not on my phone. I'm not, but I start my day in prayer and meditation and yoga stretches and really trying to be still and present. The days I might do a workout or something. So that is super helpful. Um, I put the do not disturb on from 11 at night. So again, we work with a lot of global clients, so we try to make sure we switch off. But it is hard to switch off because when you do work you love and you work for yourself, you can keep going. Uh, I have a partner, and so I think that also creates some element of like, okay, we got to switch off and do some fun things and go out and good thing again about me, I think I almost love everything, right? I love the theater, I love shopping, I love shows, I love restaurants, I love so you can get me out. Um, and so usually probably the best thing is to schedule it and is to schedule kind of my time off. Otherwise, I will keep working. But in ways I don't see it as working. I see it as getting the thing that needs to get done done.
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that because sometimes people see like my calendar and it goes, "Hey, did you schedule fun for next Thursday?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sure did."
You have to, and date night and tennis. I enjoy playing tennis and yeah, because otherwise it's not going to get done. Absolutely.
No, I totally understand. And as we roll into 2024, what's that look like for that work-life balance? I know some good things are coming. We're talking about that before we went live about changes in business, possibly, potentially. Are your systems in place where you're going to stay the course, or are you gearing up for a big project? What's happening at your brand?
Yes, we've launched the Buyer Agency Academy .com now. So that's a new platform where it's an online course to train other agents to be buying agents. And something I've put a lot of heart and soul into, but feeling so passionate about buyers being represented and agents having the skill set to do that. So it's definitely something I'm excited for and hope that it has legs. But regardless, it was about, I think, it's almost like people who write a book, right? You feel like there's something to share. And if you've got that skill set, you want to put it out there. So excited for that to get going. We've just kind of put it together and are now putting it out in the world. So happy to share that. But also ambitious, corporate goal wise and team goal wise. So it's really about serving more families this year and people as they relocate and or sell and what have you. But we do have the processes in place to probably double the business easily. So I think again that's what I'm most proud of is we have spent years of getting the right, okay, when we onboard a client, how we journey them and the steps and how we make sure we've got kind of a checklist and things like that so that people can experience the best personal service, but the background, whether it's our executive admin takes it over and our onboarding and does all the AML checks and all the things, because we are talking about high value transactions. So we need to kind of get that right. But that frees us up for those who are the agents facing the clients to take them around and spend quality time with them.
I just love the fact that with processes and foundations, you can take what comes at you and then build upon that. That's how you make things, I won't say easier, but simpler for the next other group. So that's pretty awesome. Here on New Amsterdam Radio, we ask our guests some department questions, kind of like a lightning round, but you can take your time if you would like to. Are you down to play?
Sure.
Okay. What is your favorite junk food?
Mm, gosh, that's a good one. Um, well, I have tried to pull off a junk food, to be fair. But I had a moment where I was definitely doing some uh, black pepper potato chips and, eating that pretty hard on a daily basis. So that's up there. I have pulled off of that, I have to say, but that was for a moment. Yeah. Yeah.
I've been trying to come. I'm from the West Indies, so I'm trying to learn how to make fried bake. It's very similar to in Nigeria what they call the puff puff, right? I've
Oh,
been trying to make my own. Yeah.
yeah. If I'm in that surround, it's hard to say no. And I will take some back to the States. I mean, back to London with me. So,
If you ever want to think about how we're all one people, man, the fact that baked goods or fried goods are so similar, it's like so cool. Uh,
yeah, first.
what does paradise mean to you?
Oh, that's a good one. Paradise means, yeah, I think I can have more breathing time. And things are still running. So, the brand is the business is there. It's serving clients. I'm not as involved as I am at this moment. As I said, there's so many things I love about life and travel and culture and things. So I probably put more of those things into my schedule on a regular basis. um, the weather in London is not great, so if I could spend a couple months in the summer someplace else, that would be great. And yet the team is still cranking along, so that's a good place.
Yeah, that's good paradise.
Yeah,
What has been something notable or something you really love that a supporter has given you?
a supporter or client, can I say?
Anyone can. So it could be a client or it could be someone that believed in you when you didn't believe in yourself. Just someone being like, "Yeah, I am down with you, Ugo Arinzeh. Here's this." You know?
Yeah, well, I think it's shown up in a couple ways. I've had a client um, offer me a week in their timeshare in Bermuda. So that's pretty special. I had, another client invite me to go sailing with her. So that's quite good. And that was somebody who, again, very proud of that. That was a divorcee, and we journeyed with her for over a year plus to help her find the right home, post a tough divorce. So I think, just a reflection of our relationship as well, and how that evolved over time to be somebody that she could really trust and rely on. And yeah, perhaps in the beginning, I felt, there was a bit of self sabotage in terms of the properties we might show, and just trying to move through that. So those types of things are some really big wins. But also, a first time buyer that we help them find a fantastic property in their budget. And it happened to have a garage space that we also, once we bought for them, helped convert into his man space and his man cave. He just, when he said, "You made our dreams come true," like I don't believe we could have achieved this and gotten this type of home, and certainly without the help of our team. That is some of the most gratifying um, moments for me in our business, is just helping people um, get what they want, and being part of that chapter for them, and hopefully starting off as clients, but ending up as friends. So that's really the goal for us every time.
Yeah, not to compare, but there's so many jobs that people on the outside just think you just do this thing that's transactional, but then you realize you are really impacting livelihoods, and it's like, wow, I'm contributing to the greater good. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
like the person who sees, perhaps two bricklayers, and one, what is your job? And one says, "Well, I lay bricks all day," and the other person says, "I'm building a monument." Right? It's kind of the magnitude in which you see the work you do. And so, yeah, on the one hand, the short version of your question in the beginning was, I responded, I help people buy and sell real estate throughout London. But I like to, when we do go deeper, and how I see this is, we are chosen and have the honor of getting to support somebody during a chapter of their life, right? Whether it's through divorce or childbirth or relocation. Those are not small events, right? Or somebody, we had a client from California who was like, "My whole life I've always wanted to have a property abroad." And it's not rocket science or anything, but we've helped make that happen, right? Because that was a dream that they had, that we could fulfill for them. So I think if you look at it that way, and what an honor it is to work with people and somebody choose you, we don't, these are not small value transactions. That's a big deal. So that's how we choose to see the work. And that's how I choose to see the work that we get to do.
that's so cool. And finally, what is on your travel bucket list? Where do you want to see left on this planet?
That is a great question, and I got that one all lined up for you. Well, no, next I'm going to Greece for a couple of weeks. So I'm super excited about that. I'm Nigerian by background, but I've seen about 11 African countries. I'd like to see more of Africa over time. Living in London, getting to Europe is super easy. So, and I think I've only hit, one country in South America. So would like to see more of the world, but, and there is so much to see. So yeah. But on the short list, we've got Greece in a couple weeks. I'm super excited about
Oh, absolutely. I hear there's actual sun there too.
that. So we're very excited. No, I will not be complaining.
Yeah. Is it a strictly vacation or is it a work trip? If you don't mind me asking, I'm getting all
It's
nosy.
funny, a bit of both. So it started as a friend's milestone birthday. So we're doing a cooking odyssey in Poros. And then I added a couple of days in Athens to teach a class at one of our Keller Williams market centers. So I'll be talking about the buying agency as well as YouTube. So able to parlay that. And then on the final leg, I will meet up with my partner and we will do a few days in Santorini. So I think we'll get the full mix of friends, family, and a bit of work. So that's something to look forward to.
I'm kind of the same way. Like a vacation to me is like, but a vacation where I get to like work or write an article or teach or do something is like, yeah, it's a different vibe, to be like, I'm in town to educate.
Great opportunity, yeah, to talk about something I'm passionate about and to interact with others and just continue. I like to say I like to collect people, on my journey of life. So it's nice to meet new people and apply how you're doing something one way to perhaps the different cultural changes of being in a different location.
Oh, absolutely. This conversation, it was to say fascinating is kind of an understatement because I learned so many different layers about like the people and the economy and how that relates to your line of work. And that's just fascinating. But if someone's listening right now and they want to connect with you or book you, how do they go about doing that?
Well, I'd love it if you can find me on my YouTube channel with as Ugo Arinzeh. Also, we're on Instagram as Onyx London Life. And then finally, if you're interested in the work we're doing in the buyer agency, it's thebuyeragencyacademy.com. So you can find me from one, and then it'll lead you to the others as well.
That's what we're talking about. We're going to talk about travel. We're talking about real estate and puff puff recipes after the break. But this is New Amsterdam Radio, the podcast for creatives.